Today I want to share the incredible story of Becky Isaacs Bowman. She's part of the famous Issacs family, but behind the music is a woman who's faced deep anxiety, chronic illness, and emotional pain, and overcome through faith, support, and courage. Becky started having panic attacks at just 11 years old. There was a lot happening: family stress, her dad's injury, and pressure from performing. One morning, she woke up in a full panic and didn't even know what it was. As she grew older, it only got worse. The panic hit hardest on stage. She felt trapped, claustrophobic, and unable to escape. She performed night after night, but inside, she was breaking. Becky opened up to her family and started counseling. She's a strong believer in getting help before things fall apart. In her words, counselors keep you from being broken. She's had anxiety, marriage, and even business counseling over the years. Becky also learned to say no, to protect her peace, and to carry less emotionally. Now I choose what I'm going to put in my backpack.
The first panic attack I remember having was around, I would say probably 11. And that was, before my mom and dad were really having major marital problems. But, I remember it was centered around music. Things weren't going great at rehearsals, and we were going to make a record. Dad had gotten injured on his job, and so he was just dealing with a lot. And I just remember feeling the pressure, and I woke up one morning to a panic attack, and I didn't realize that's what it was. But as time passed, I realized it started happening more frequently on stage when I was feeling pressure to perform a certain way or portray an image. I felt trapped on stage and almost began to feel a claustrophobic scenario where people paid a lot of money for a ticket and I can't just walk off. So therefore I am bound to make everybody happy. And so somehow it made me very claustrophobic. So as I got older and the more our career advanced and the more mom and dad had problems, the more there was shifts in our musical careers, is when I started having panic attacks almost every night when we performed. And so I went through probably 10 years of having panic attacks every night when I was on stage. It didn't matter the size. It didn't matter. It never had anything to do with the audience or the people. It all had to do with my environment, my surroundings, and where I was emotionally that day. And that was the beginning for me.
So during that time, Becky, did you talk to your mom and dad about this, or did you internalize everything? Was this your inner struggle that was kind of your secret?
My family, I was able to talk to them about it, but they didn't understand it. So instead of, over time, they've learned to embrace it and let me make myself comfortable. But they would say to me things like, well, you're crazy. You've got it. You've always done great, or you know what you're doing, or you've got this, or you're talented, or you never miss a note, or whatever. And they thought that encouragement was what I needed, but it was so much deeper than just needing someone to puff me up and tell me I was good. It wasn't about me not knowing I couldn't do it. It was about developing these time bombs in my mind, these little miniature minefields of, okay, well then this and this, and it just all came out when I performed. And so all of the pressure and all of the things that I had locked up inside just would manifest on stage when I felt like people were trying to make me look like I was a princess living a princess life, and that it was a fairy tale and my life was perfect, my family was perfect. They saw the polished version of us standing on stage. I'm a real person. I'm a realist. Someone tried to print an article one time and say that they live a fairy tale life and blah, blah, blah. And I, talking about my marriage, talking about traveling on the road with my kids, being with my family. And I just emailed them back and I said, you can keep, the article's great, but take that out. It's not true. I don't want people to think by any stretch of the imagination that, I'm a Disney character. And so I've always just tried to keep it real with people. I think that people can deal with real. I think they have a harder time dealing with fake because they just don't know where to put that in a category. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
With real, they can, when somebody's real, I think even though, once again, it may hurt to realize that this person's real, at least they can absorb that. They can identify with that.
On top of anxiety, Becky lived with Crohn's disease for 10 years. She took 20 medications, including high-dose steroids and chemo. It affected her sleep and made her anxiety worse. Eventually, she tried a holistic approach, and it changed her life. She detoxed not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually too. Through the body healing, my spirit, my mind, and my soul healed. Becky says her faith has grown stronger through all of it. She's learned that God provides in every season. When God's provision becomes sufficient, then you begin to have faith because He's proven Himself true. She prays before every performance, trusting God to give her what she needs in the moment.
I respect my father very much, and I respect my mom. And, I've had multiple conversations with my mom, but I've never really talked about it with my dad, as I'm not quite sure it would absorb the way it's intended to. And so for me, I have found I'm at peace with it with God, because ultimately when you surrender your life to Christ, truly, if you truly surrender your life to Christ, then doors that are closed will open, and doors that are supposed to be open will close. I have found in my life, by surrendering to God, He has closed those doors and He's opened new doors. As I've gotten older, I look back and said, I would have done that then, but it's not me now. And I don't know if it's not me now because I've gotten into a pattern of doing what's me, or if it's not me now because I didn't have an opportunity to pursue that. But at the end of the day, I'm a peacemaker, and I look in the mirror. I reflect everything off of the mirror. And when I realize I've done all that I can do, and I can lay my head on my pillow and I'm good at night, then the rest of it I'm at peace with. And so at this point in my life, I can say that if something happened to me tomorrow, that I have tried to really resolve any of those from the past and be comfortable with where God has me now.
Becky Isaacs Bowman shared something deeply personal. She said she's come to peace with certain unresolved things from her past, not because everything got fixed, but because she truly surrendered it to God. She explained that while she's had honest conversations with her mom, she never really talked to her dad about some of the deeper things. Not because of bitterness, but because she wasn't sure he could receive it the way it was meant. Instead of forcing closure, Becky found peace with God. She said, "When you truly surrender your life to Christ, the doors that need to close will close, and the ones that need to open will open." She reflected on how surrender allowed her to stop holding on so tightly to what could have been or should have been, and to trust God with the outcome. She said she's a peacemaker, and when she can look in the mirror and know she's done all she can lay her head down at night in peace. Now, she lives in the freedom of knowing that God has brought her through, closed the doors that needed to be closed, and open new ones. And if her life were to end tomorrow, she would know in her heart that she made peace with God and within herself. Becky's journey reminds us that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to struggle, but with God's help and the right support, we can keep going. Her story is proof you're not alone and you can overcome. If this inspired you, please like, comment, and share. Thanks for watching.